Victory Tuesday hits differently when you're a Chicago Bears fan, especially after a performance that reminds everyone what this team is capable of when things finally start to click. You could feel the energy, the emotion, and the urgency on the field, in the locker room, and in the fan base. And right at the center of that emotion, Jake Moody. The guy went from cast-off to clutch in just one night, and whether or not he ever kicks again in a Bears jersey, he gave the fans a memory that'll live for a long time. Let's start with the biggest moment of the night. 4 field goals made out of 5 attempts, including the game winner from 38 yards out. Jake Moody didn't just step up. He stepped in, answered the call, and slammed the door shut on the Commanders in dramatic fashion. It wasn't perfect. He had one kick blocked, likely because of a low trajectory and a solid push up front by Washington special teams. But the response? Impressive. He stayed composed and drilled the kick that mattered most. That's what you want from a guy thrown into the fire. And to think, this is the same Jake Moody who was released by the San Francisco 49ers, a third-round pick whose confidence seemed completely shattered. The Bears picked him up, quietly added him to the practice squad, and gave him a chance. No fanfare, no pressure, no expectations. Just an opportunity. And on a night when Cairo Santos couldn't go due to a quad issue that flared up over the weekend, Moody became the guy. And not just any guy, asterisk that asterisk guy. This whole thing could have gone another way. When you hear a player is elevated off the practice squad because the starter's injured, it usually spells trouble. You brace yourself. But Jake Moody changed that narrative, if only for a night. That game winner wasn't just a kick. It was a full circle moment. From cut by the Niners to hero in Chicago. That's why we love this game. It gives guys like Moody a second chance. And sometimes that's all they need. Now, let's talk DJ Moore. There was a bit of a scare after the game when news broke that he spent the night in a hospital in the D.C. area following the Bears' win. The team labeled it as a precautionary medical evaluation, which, honestly, is what you hope to hear in that situation. It doesn't seem like anything major, and we even saw him jogging off the field with a smile. That's usually a good sign. Maybe it was cracked ribs. Maybe they were just being extra careful and checking for internal issues like a punctured lung. Who knows? The important part is that it doesn't sound serious, and the vibes around the team seem calm. And that's a good thing, because Moore was a force early on. He set the tone, made tough catches, and took contact like a warrior. Caleb Williams kept looking his way, especially on those opening drives, and Moore answered every single time. He's exactly the kind of player this team needs if they're going to make any kind of run this season. Physical, smart, and always dependable. Now let's circle back to this Bears team as a whole. One of the biggest themes this year has been the next man up mentality. Whether it's injuries on the offensive line, struggles at quarterback, or now issues at kicker, it seems like every week there's another challenge. And yet, here we are, talking about a big-time win. Jake Moody, of all people, embodies that identity. When the team needed someone to step in and deliver, he did just that. Of course, this does raise a question that's already bouncing around among fans. Do we have a kicker controversy? The honest answer is not yet. Let's not overreact. Cairo Santos has been reliable for the Bears. He's not a booming leg by NFL standards, but he's consistent, he's calm under pressure, and most importantly, he's experienced. Moody has the bigger leg, no question. He can kick deeper on kickoffs, and he's younger, which makes him intriguing from a long-term development standpoint. But Cairo's job shouldn't be in danger unless that injury lingers longer than expected. If he's healthy, he's the starter. If not, you ride with Moody again next week without hesitation. But it is worth noting, if Moody stays on the practice squad and another team comes calling, the Bears risk losing him. That's the tricky part. Moody could accept an offer to join another team's active roster. Or he could choose to stay in Chicago, knowing he's getting valuable reps and development time in a system that just gave him a huge opportunity. It'll be up to him. Either way, it's a situation to monitor closely. Shifting gears for a second, can we talk about the run game finally coming alive? DeAndre Swift looked like a man on a mission. It wasn't just the big stats, though those were there too. It was the way he ran. Confident, explosive, decisive. The Bears leaned into that outside zone scheme more heavily this week, and it paid off big time. Toss cracks, sweeps, getting him out in space, it all worked. And give credit to the offensive line, because those lanes don't open up on their own. Theo Benedict got a lot of work in space, and it made a difference. But the real standout up front? Darnell Wright. There were plays where he blocked 2 defenders on a single snap. And keep in mind, he's doing that with a torn UCL in his elbow. That's brutal. And yet, he played like an absolute beast. This guy's toughness is off the charts. And when he's right, he's an anchor for that right side. It's not just about 1 or 2 good plays either. The Bears averaged nearly 8 yards per carry. That's insane, especially in today's NFL. And it wasn't fluky. There was a rhythm to the ground game we hadn't seen before. Ben Johnson deserves credit here too. He stuck with it, even when things weren't clicking early in the season, and it looks like the bye week gave the staff time to recalibrate. Swift was patient, the blocking was consistent, and the scheme finally matched the personnel. All of this matters because it takes pressure off Caleb Williams. Let's be real, he's still growing. There were stretches in that game where things got messy. He started strong, had a rough second quarter with some erratic throws, and then locked back in during the fourth. That's kind of been his season in a nutshell. The talent is there, the flashes are undeniable, but the consistency needs to catch up. 17 completions on 29 attempts, over 250 yards, 1 passing touchdown, and a rushing score as well. No turnovers, though he did get away with 1 potential interception in the red zone that should have been picked. Still, he kept fighting. There was a moment on the sideline after a bad snap exchange where you could tell he was frustrated. He was having words with his quarterback's coach, and that's a good thing. He cares. He's invested. And most importantly, he didn't let that moment define the rest of his night. When it mattered most, late in the game, he made the throws. He kept his cool. That third down conversion to Colston level was a killer. Then they fed Swift, moved into field goal range, and set up Moody for the win. That's team football. That's a quarterback maturing. That's an offense finding itself piece by piece. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough to win. Caleb doesn't need to be a superhero every week. He just needs to keep learning, keep developing, and avoid the critical mistakes. The upside is obvious, and if he keeps playing clean football, the Bears will stay competitive. Now let's be honest, there's still work to be done. The passing accuracy has to improve. He's sitting around 62% on the season, which isn't ideal in today's game. You want to see that number creep closer to 65 or even 67%. 70? That might be a stretch, but the important thing is growth. And you can see the growth. The play-action game is developing. The footwork is better. The decision-making, while not perfect, is trending in the right direction. He's not bailing on plays the way he did last year, and he's hanging in the pocket longer. So when you put it all together, Jake Moody's redemption, DJ Moore's early dominance, DeAndre Swift's breakout, the offensive line's resurgence, and Caleb's steady hand when it mattered, what you get is a Chicago Bears team that showed heart, resilience, and maybe most importantly, identity. This wasn't a lucky win. It wasn't a one-off. It was a team victory built on grit, patience, and execution. There's something that hits different about a team win, especially when it feels like the pieces are finally falling into place. The Chicago Bears didn't just stumble into a win. They went out and earned it with grit, physicality, and moments of real growth across the board. And now the big question becomes, can this team build off that momentum, or was this just another spike in an inconsistent season? Because what we saw on the field wasn't just about one game. It felt like a glimpse of what the Bears could be if they tighten up the details and lean into their identity. Let's start with the mentality. This team showed something it hadn't shown consistently this year: resilience. The kind of mental toughness where even when things started to slip, they didn't unravel. There was a moment in that second quarter where it felt like the momentum was shifting. The offense lost rhythm. The Commanders started to chip away, and you could feel the nerves building. But instead of folding, the Bears responded. That's what good teams do. They take a punch, steady themselves, and fire right back. That composure came from both sides of the ball. And while the headlines will go to Jake Moody and DeAndre Swift, the Bears' defense deserves some serious credit. They didn't dominate start to finish, but they came up with timely stops, especially against a Washington offense that's been known to move the ball through the air. There was a noticeable emphasis on gap control in the run game, and while the pass rush wasn't overwhelming, they didn't let the Commanders get comfortable. The secondary had a couple of missed tackles and blown assignments, but overall, it felt like they tightened up when it mattered. This is where coaching quietly played a massive role. You could tell there were adjustments made during the bye week, especially in the run game and offensive structure. Ben Johnson crafted a game plan that not only played to his strengths, but more importantly, helped his quarterback find rhythm without forcing him to carry the team. The balance was finally there. Swift on the edge, play-action shots, bootlegs to create space. It all worked together to keep the Commanders on their heels. That's the kind of layering this offense has lacked in previous weeks. And if it continues, we might start seeing a more consistent version of this Bears unit. And let's go back to Caleb for a second. There's been so much conversation about him being the future, about whether he's that franchise guy. Games like this don't give us all the answers, but they give us real signs. He didn't light it up statistically. It wasn't a video game performance. But he protected the football. He handled pressure. He commanded the offense. He kept his poise when the pocket collapsed. And most importantly, he played with a maturity we didn't always see last year. That's growth. It might not make headlines, but it makes a difference in the win column. What stood out most was how he handled the drive that set up the game winner. It was calm, measured, efficient. He didn't force anything. He let the offense work for him, got the ball out on time, trusted his reads. And when the big play wasn't there, he checked it down, took what the defense gave him, and moved the chains. That's exactly what you want to see from a young quarterback learning how to win in this league. Sometimes it's not about the deep ball or the highlight reel throw. Sometimes it's about making the simple play under pressure. Caleb did that. And let's not overlook how important it was for the Bears to win this game without relying on a single superstar effort. Yes, Swift was electric. Yes, Moody was clutch. But this wasn't a one-man show. It was the kind of win that requires all three phases to show up. Special teams played a huge role, from Moody's field goals to solid coverage on kick returns. Offense sustained drives and didn't give the ball away. The defense bent, but didn't break. That's how you build a winning culture. Not by hoping one guy saves the day every week, but by getting everyone to do their job at a high level. And it's not like everything was perfect. There were still issues. Penalties in key moments, some questionable officiating, and a couple of blown assignments that could have flipped the game. But that's what makes this one even more meaningful. The Bears won a messy game. They didn't need ideal conditions. They didn't need the ball to bounce their way every time. They won by staying composed and making the right plays when it counted. And that's something this team hasn't always done in the past. If you're a Bears fan, what should excite you the most is not the win itself. It's what the win reveals. It reveals a coaching staff willing to adjust, a quarterback continuing to grow, a running game that finally found its footing, a defense that, while still imperfect, knows how to make timely stops, and a kicker who, in one night, showed the kind of guts you just can't teach. This is what team football looks like. It's not flashy. It's not always clean, but it's effective. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL world is buzzing with a blockbuster move that could shake the very foundation of the league. Sources close to team executives suggest that the Chicago Bears have officially landed defensive powerhouse Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. While neither franchise has confirmed all the minute details publicly, whispers around league circles indicate that the Bears were relentless in their pursuit, dangling draft picks and promising a high-profile role to the all-pro edge rusher. Fans and analysts alike are already speculating on what this means for both teams. Chicago, a franchise eager to reinvent its identity, may now have the kind of defensive cornerstone capable of shifting the balance in the NFC North. Garrett's combination of speed, power, and relentless pass-rushing instincts could make opposing quarterbacks think twice before stepping into the pocket, and insiders hint that the Bears front office believes this could be the first step toward a true championship contender. Meanwhile, Cleveland fans are in shock. The Browns have long built their defense around Garrett's disruptive presence, and rumors suggest the trade didn't come lightly. Speculation is rife that internal tensions and salary cap strategies played a significant role, though details remain murky. Some league insiders hint that the Browns might have secured valuable draft compensation, but whether it will fill the void left by Garrett is anyone's guess. In locker rooms from Chicago to Cleveland, the chatter is deafening. Social media is ablaze with reactions, ranging from disbelief to sheer excitement. NFL commentators are already framing the trade as potentially one of the most consequential of the decade, sparking endless debates on defensive schematics, team chemistry, and the ripple effect throughout the league. For now, one thing is clear. Wherever Garrett lines up next Sunday, eyes will be watching, and the Bears fans are holding their breath. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.